I really don't think that they're that stupid. Hey everybody, Colton here, and in this one we have got a question from Jason. Jason writes, what are your oh, this is very straight to the point. What are your thoughts on Sony announcing that they're going to reboot the live-action Spider-Verse? Okay. So yes, I saw that news today. We actually did a live stream on it over on Screen Crush. Feel free to go check that out. I want to say that after watching the interview, and it was an interview with Tom Rothman, who's, over Sony Pictures. I want to say that right up front, he did not come out and say, we are rebooting the live action Sony Spider-Verse films. Yes, that is kind of what was said, but not exactly. It was a little bit of a leading question. The interviewer was actually the one who said, so you're rebooting the live action Sony Spider-Verse, you're not just abandoning it completely. That was essentially the question. And he was like, yeah, no, we're not abandoning it. Yeah, we're rebooting it. We'll be back. We're going to do more. I think, and this is just, take it for what you will. I think this is him teasing that, yes, Sony has plans to make more live action movies with their spider adjacent characters, that the title is not Spider-Man, but like to actually do movies about these characters. But I think his plan right now is to do them with Marvel Studios. You'll notice that in this interview that he gave, he praised Kevin Feige. He praised Marvel Studios. He talked about how good this arrangement is of working with Marvel Studios and having their Tom Holland Spider-Man that shares the screen with Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. He said all of that. And there were recent reports, maybe a few weeks back, where we heard that Sony was open to sharing more characters with Marvel. So I think that is what he is teasing. I think that he is this was his way of saying, no, we aren't just completely not going to do these movies anymore. Yes, we still want to do Spider-Man adjacent character movies, which I'll talk about here in a second, that I'm still just not even sure that's a good idea, even if they're working with Marvel Studios. But that their plan is, for those to work, Spider-Man has to be involved. And not just some random Spider-Man, not reworking the contract with Marvel to where, hey, can we have like another Peter Parker Spider-Man that shows up in these or something? No, I think they want their Tom Holland Spider-Man, the Spider-Man that they're running with right now. I think they want him to be able to be in these movies. And in order to do that, I think they realize that they're going to have to work more closely with Marvel. One, just so it'll even work, as we'll talk about. But two, because Marvel Studios, as we've seen, they're not going to let up on... Marvel would rather just walk away and not use the Spider-Man character in the MCU anymore than have Sony have the ability to just use the character willy-nilly and have all of these implications for their character and for their Marvel Cinematic Universe, and being able to tell these stories that exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that Marvel Studios, have no control over. Marvel's never going to let that happen. So I do think that we're going to see Sony and Marvel Studios come to an agreement where they're going to start treating those other characters more like how they treat Spider-Man. They're going to work together on it. They are going to have Marvel Studios be involved with making the movies. I said earlier on Screen Crush that I think it would be smart because, and, in that stream, Ryan kind of said that having that type of, corporate synergy or whatever, two different big corporations with their own suits and execs working together that closely, it would be kind of unheard of and very hard to do. Well, them sharing Spider-Man the way they do is kind of really unheard of and really hard to do, but they managed to do it. So my pitch would be for... One, I think Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios need to do this anyway. If they're expanding the MCU and are going to have all these different pockets of the MCU like running at the same time, like the more magical, mystical realm, the more street level, whatever realm, the more like, the X-Men realm, the Avengers realm, and have those different stories kind of going and being kind of their own small cinematic universes that do the crossover, so it can be more kind of micromanaged in a way, and then like bring those together for your big saga ending event. I think that means that for Kevin Feige to be able to do that, not be stretched so thin, he needs to have a team of people that he oversees, that he's on the same wavelength with, and people that he has been, mentoring over these years to oversee these certain pockets, people that he can trust to do what he wants them to do and execute his vision and share a great vision and an idea of what they need to do. Have somebody who can be the Spider-Man pocket guy or girl. Have someone who is well positioned and who has been around for a while, who Marvel and Sony agree, this is our person. They will be an employee or maybe a contract, employee for hire or whatever for each company that oversees the Spider-Man and all his adjacent character films. He works with Marvel Studios, he works with Sony, and we have some synergy there. So it's not just, two complete, corporations. I think my brain broke for a second. Just not talking to each other, because when they don't talk to each other, and we've seen this happen in Marvel as well, where inside Marvel they're not talking to each other. You damn sure can't do it where you have Sony making films that exist in the MCU and that Tom Holland's Spider-Man pops up in. You can't have that and have him in the MCU and expect it to work. One, just from a story perspective, you're going to get a lot of conflicts and contradictions, but also Marvel and Sony, Marvel more so, and I hesitate to say this because Marvel has had a serious quality drop, but Marvel does have, a quality that they want to maintain. And, say what you will about Marvel as of late. They haven't put out any shit like Kraven or Morbius or Madam Web. That could really pull down their brand. So that's how I think they should do it moving forward. And if they don't, they're doomed to fail. I've heard the argument that if Sony would just make good movies, that it would work. If Morbius had just been good, if Kraven had just been good, if Madam Web had just been good, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And maybe that's true. But Venom was good, and you still had people asking all the time, well, when are we getting the Spider-Man and Venom movie? When are they going to cross them over? It is always going to be there. There is always, no matter how good the spin-off movies are, you are always going to have that gaping, glaring hole that is Spider-Man. It is always going to feel so weird that he's not there because Sony just insists on referencing him right up to the line and then not. Now, if they stopped doing that, if they would stop like saying, hey, golly shucks, gee, did you notice that Spider-Man's not in this movie? It's like they just make it obvious. They have all these slight references to Spider-Man that just makes it more glaringly obvious that he's not there. That's the problem. So, if they had built this universe around Venom, and had it been like Venom teaming up with, maybe Venom was being hunted by Kraven and then do like a Venom 2 where Kraven's hunting Venom, but then they team up because they need to go hunt down Morbius, and then, they all team up because Madam Web has come in and she is not Madam Web like over the interconnected Spider-Verse. She has a symbiote and she is one, and Madam Web does have a symbiote suit, right, in the comics. And she is fully aware of the symbiote hive mind, and bring in Null and have Madam Web and the Spider Women and Morbius and Kraven and Venom going up against Null and bring in Carnage. That would be cool. That could have worked. It really could have worked if they had built it around Venom. God, that really could have worked. And you wouldn't have needed Spider-Man. But when you make Madam Web and make it about the Spider-Verse, and if they brought in those Spider-Women, I don't think they could be Spider-Women, because when you have Spider-Women there, that makes you think about Spider-Man. Where's Spider-Man? So maybe you would have had to have it be like Madam, I don't know, Madam Hive Mind or something, or just give her, a different name or something. But have her be, and you could maybe call her Madam Web, maybe, because she's over the web that is the symbiote hive mind. My point is, Sony, they were so insistent on slightly referencing Spider-Man. Oh, Vulture saying, has something to do with Spider-Man, I think. Let's tease Venom and Spider-Man together. Or, we can't even say the word Spider-Man or Peter Parker, but we're just going to slightly, try to trick the audience into thinking we're connected so they'll come give us money. that wasn't working, and I do hope they learn this lesson. And keep in mind, this is their second botched attempt at a Sinister Six thing. The Amazing Spider-Man universe, before they were going to do the Amazing Spider-Man 3, they were going to do a Sinister Six movie with Spider-Man in it, but it was going to be a Sinister Six movie. I thought that was stupid then. I think it's stupid now. It didn't work. And so they scrapped it all and, brought in Tom Holland, started working with the MCU, and then they're like, hey, let's do it again, except this time without Spider-Man. Didn't work. Had to scrap it. If their plans are to try to do it again, oh my God. I really don't think that they're that stupid. I do not think that they are that stupid. I think that they are going to work with Marvel moving forward. That's my hope, and that's what I think is going to happen. Anyway, thank you so much for the question, Jason. I really appreciate you sending it in. Sorry if that was kind of all over the place. I get heated when talking about this because I just love the character so much. I mean, I love Spider-Man, as do all you guys. And sometimes I just wonder how with all the money that these studios have and the access to just super talented, creative people, how they manage to sometimes just put out absolute slop. And even, I mean, you make the argument of, oh, well, they're in it for the money. They're in it for the money. Yeah, they are, of course. But putting out dog shit doesn't make you money. Anyway, thanks for the question.